I cleared state pieces in first attempt, which I got into IS customs, and in 2024 I got foreign rank 73. These three things can be addressed by solving the previous year questions. You should always see mock test as a source of knowledge, not as just posting the marks that you have scored, whether less or more.
Have you made some model intro and conclusion like a set format कि अगर इस पे आता है तो मेरे पास ready है template मैं वहां लिख दूंगा.
I have two questions. Like the first one is that what was your strategy regarding the optional that you took?
Mhm.
And the second question is, do you have any suggestions or inputs for working professionals?
I believe you will get an IES this time,
Yes.
right? So, मतलब what's the right mindset if somebody is like preparing for this examination, either from all the walks of life, or working, or married, or anybody?
Sir, my question is that I'm also preparing for the UPPCS too. So, like, what different I have to do other than the UPSC preparation? Like, some tips I want.
Someone is in the first or second attempt or third attempt and have the plan of giving it again, then you should give yourself time first to settle in, because it's very difficult to face the failures. Like I have faced failures.
Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to Margdarshan IS. Today, we have got our one of the special guests. His name is Shivam Singh, and we all have seen him not only once but twice. He has cracked UPSC CSE examination, and it's privilege to be part of this program and part of this session. So once again, thank you so much, Shivam, for pulling out time for ourselves, because I think you are in training campus right now.
Yes. Presently, I'm undergoing training for IRS customs.
IRS customs. So फिर से हमारे एस्पिरेंट कम्युनिटी के बिहाफ पे आपको बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. So before I start, I would request you to kindly walk us through your journey. I mean, in the last, I think, since 2019, you've been preparing, right?
Yes.
Yes. So can you just share कि कोविड से पहले और आपकी ग्रेजुएशन कहाँ से हुई थी, so that people will know about you?
See, I completed my master's MTech from Indian School of Mines, Dhanbad, which is now IIT Dhanbad, in 2019 in mechanical engineering. And uske baad I got placed in a company, but I didn't join. So eventually, I landed up in Delhi, like everyone else. And in 2019 only, I decided to give my state PCS prelims, which was in December 15, if I could recall.
Okay.
So I had this plan that I will appear for both the exams parallelly, so that I could prepare a backup properly. And so I started there, and from 2019 I started writing both the exams. I cleared state pieces in first attempt, which results came in February 2021. But I flunked in UPSC prelims, like sometimes failing in CSAT, sometimes in GS1. My first mains was in 2021 for UPSC, and in which I failed in mains. I had scored very less marks in GS as well as in optional. Then in 2020-22, I again failed prelims because I was undergoing training for state pieces, so I was not able to give sufficient time. Then in 2023, I cracked. I got into IS customs, and in 2024, I got foreign rank 73.
Okay. So, when you say I think you cracked pre in your very first attempt, right, for UPSC?
Yes.
Okay. So again, I mean, a lot of myths and a lot of talks has been happening कि pre को कैसे clear किया जा सकता है, because वो ratio भी काफी थोड़ा ज़्यादा है. तो but I think real competitor वो कुछ 20 से 25 हजार लोग होते हैं pre के.
Right.
तो आपका क्या mindset, मतलब कैसे आपने PCS भी pre पहले में clear किया, फिर उसके बाद I think you never failed in prelims.
I failed once in CSAT.
CSAT में, अच्छा, okay. So मतलब क्या जर्नी स्ट्रेटजी क्या थी प्री को अगर हम चैलेंज कर रहे हैं तो?
Sir, I feel for prelims we need to have some certain threshold of knowledge. That threshold level of knowledge can be get from the basic books. What generally students fail to do is that they rely on compilations given by institutions or run from pillar to pillar for material when the exams approach, and often they miss the basic material, which becomes the bread and butter for the prelims. And like the basic books, for example, Lakshmikant, Spectrum, as we all know what are the basic books. So what I focusing on those books, revising them a number of times, to the extent that I was able to remember each and every page of an NCRT. For example, geography, which page, which topic is given. So this is the degree of revision that you need to have for prelims, because statements are sometimes directly from the NCERT. And regarding the randomness of the paper, sir, I believe it's more about how calm and composed you are in the exam in those 2 hours. Because everyone somewhat have a similar level of knowledge. It is how you keep your nerves calm in those exams in those 2 hours. Because you don't have to attempt all the questions. You have to attempt 80, 85. You have to get through the cutoff is also decent. So you have to just pass the prelims. You don't have to score much in prelims. So I think you need to have this mindset that you have to just go through the basic books and do lot of mock test and keep calm on the exam.
Right. So what's the role of previous year question paper when it comes to prelims examination?
So the first thing is you get to understand the language of UPSC, because if you see this year question paper also, approximately 7 to 10 questions were there in which you can solve from the language itself. I have not gone through all the questions, but I have seen one question in which it was all the statements were written that all X is Y, all. So, all these statements are supposed to be wrong. So the first thing is you get the language of UPSC, so you could correct around 6 to 10 questions from the language. Second thing is you get to know like which section of syllabus is more important, and there is a pattern of asking questions from a particular. So you get to understand that pattern also. So you focus more on revising those portion of syllabus which are fitting that pattern.
Exactly, yeah.
Third thing is by doing the previous year question, you develop the knack of solving the random questions, because UPSC often asks the bouncers. So you should not be afraid of seeing the bouncer questions. You should rather have the confidence that whatever the question it is, I will solve from the basic knowledge. So these 3 things can be addressed by solving the previous year questions.
Right. So I'm sure you must have seen this year's prelims paper, right?
Yes.
So what's the difference? I mean, so what's the difference you could correlate कि मतलब अब अगर 2026 के लिए, because the next prelims is 26.
Yes.
So how should they prepare? Let's say number 3 case हमारे पास है. Number 1, if somebody is fresh, like starting from the beginning. Second case is if somebody has not able to clear this examination, then how will they be able to approach? And thirdly, because I think you clearly relate, because if somebody is working professional,
yes,
and have some knowledge, then how can they approach? So there are 3 scenarios. Yeah.
Sir, for the first scenario, the one who is starting very fresh. So first you should prepare the book list, which you will stick to, and you should stick to that book list to the end of your prelims preparation.
Okay.
So first get a fresh book list, like all the NCERTs which are there, the standard books that are there. And after fixing the book list, you should start with the basic NCERTs. For example, you should start reading the 11th and 12th NCERT of geography. If you are not able to understand the concept, you should refer to any YouTube sources or any online institution sources, those who are explaining those NCERT chapters. Like there are certain YouTube channels also which are explaining the each and every chapter that is given in the NCERT. So what I need to make sure is that whatever concept you are reading from NCERT, you have to make sure that you are properly understanding it, not just mugging it. Because mugging up the concept from NCERT won't help when it comes to geography, because it's a scientific subject. So similarly for other subjects also, for example, polity, you should go through the 11th class polity, then jump to Lakshmikant. So the freshers must always start from the basics. You should not jump straight away to solving questions or to the random coaching materials or compilations. If you are not very much solid with your basics, it will be very difficult to tackle the higher level of questions which are there in the prelims as well as in mains.
Right.
So I think those who are very fresh, they should focus on preparing a book list and starting from the basic NCERTs.
Okay.
Now those who didn't clear this time, unfortunately, if they belong to the category of not clearing paper 1, that means there are some loopholes in the prelims preparation, especially for GS paper. So you should identify, for example, if the polity questions are tough to you, if the economic questions are tougher to you, you should identify which section of the questions you marked wrong this year.
Right.
And and you just prepare a proper register, like which question you marked wrong and which concepts you were not able to recall in the exam. Then you should prepare a fresh timetable. Like this time, I will focus on these questions. If my economy is wrong, I will pick up some institution help from for the economics per se, for geography per se, for polity per se. So the conclusion is you should identify your weak areas that have been this time for you in the GS paper.
Right.
And if you are failing in CSAT, that means you have ignored the paper. Like I have ignored it once in 2022. I failed in CSAT. I got 65.83.
Acha.
So yeah, so
Okay.
failing CSAT is very bad because it derails you for a year. You
Hmm.
feel like you have put in a lot of efforts in GS paper, but unfortunately failing CSAT. So the excuses won't bring back the year that you are going to pass.
Exactly. Yes.
So for those who are failing in CSAT, they should identify like which section of the syllabus is asked more. For example, number system has a decent number of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Then the DI and the passages which are there. So you should identify which are the low-hanging fruits in a CSAT paper by going through the previous year question papers. And you can refer to any free sources that are available on YouTube.
Done.
For example, number system, there are n number of channels who are teaching number system. There are n number of channels who are teaching syllogism.
Right.
So you can go through those channels and then solve the previous year questions so that you could have a foolproof plan for the next year. Because you should not risk your attempts on just for the sake of CSAT.
Right.
And answer for all the three category, all the two categories that I explained, the solving mock test paper is very important.
Mm.
Like I have solved around 60 mock tests for prelims.
Okay.
There are certain benefits of solving mock test. First is you should never see those mock tests as a impression of your marks that are you scoring
Exactly.
in those mock tests. You should see them as a repository of knowledge. Like what I have done, I had a thick register made out of the mistakes that I committed in my mock test. So
Right.
this gives a value addition to the basics that you have read that I have already mentioned. This adds up to that enriches the content that you already have read. So
Right.
this helps in eliminating the options in prelims.
Exactly.
So you should always see mock test as a source of knowledge, not as just posting the marks that you have scored, whether less or more.
Exactly. Yes.
So this is the role of mock test paper that I have personally used. And so then coming to the third category of students, actually I have been in this space. Like
Yeah.
I have been working for past close to 3 years and I've been giving like last two attempts of UPSC.
Right.
And so in this case, since we have less time, and provided that you have prepared your basics well previously, because the first line that I mentioned that you need to be certain threshold for prelims,
Mm.
and someone who is working is supposed to have reached that threshold previously,
Mm.
and now he's just going through the work and just giving the UPSC exam. So what I did, I went through the this 12-hour and 14-hour compilation that come just before the prelims.
Yes.
Different institution release those
Yeah.
compilations.
Yeah.
So you can just pick up one or two institution compilations and you can watch them while going to office. Like I used to watch them while traveling in my official vehicle to my office, and you can make scribble short notes from it so that you could just revise them whenever you get the time. And parallelly, you can solve around 8 to 10 mock test papers so that you could be well versed with how the options are, how to pick up the right options. If you are not in touch with the MCQ type questions, you can be in touch with the MCQ type questions similarly. And similarly, sir, for CSAT, you can go through the high weightage sections from the YouTube. For example, I every year I go through syllogism and number system repeatedly because these are frequently asked questions. So these are brief strategy for three segment of students
Right.
for prelims.
Thank you so much for explaining in detail. When I give these people mentorship, I tell them that your counterparts and your batchmates are not the real competitor. So what I tell them, the real competitor is somebody who has already, cracked this exam. He has this level of understanding, and then again sitting with you to
Hmm.
तो उनके लेवल को हमें मैच करना है. Somebody अगर मेंस नहीं क्लियर हो पा रहा है, अगेन दे विल गो टू 2026, दे
Yes.
विल राइट. जिसका इंटरव्यू नहीं क्लियर हो पा रहा है, देन अगेन दे विल गो 2026, दे विल राइट. सो वी हैव टू, बिकॉज दे आर रेडी विद द कंटेंट. इट्स जस्ट थोड़ा सा प्रैक्टिस और करनी है और गलतियों पे काम करना है. तो आप कैन यू सजेस्ट मी वन पीस ऑफ और मल्टीपल पीस ऑफ एडवाइस दैट हाउ टू मैच the level of those people who have already like mains out or interview out, or they're selected, like you were selected in your first attempt, second attempt, then again preparing for this examination, then what was your level? Because your level is definitely different. ये शुरुआत beginners बच्चे cannot match it. So what should be a piece of advice, like somebody, if you wanted to give an advice to yourself, कि मैं अगर शुरुआत से शुरू करूं लेकिन देखूं कि इतने सारे लोग जो ऑलरेडी कर रहे हैं, क्या स्ट्रैटेजी होनी चाहिए?
Sir, like you rightly mentioned, if I tell about my batch, around 24 of IRS officers this time sat for the interview. So you can see the how the repetition pattern is going on.
Exactly, yeah.
So this is the level of competition you are going to face.
Yeah.
Now, what difference I would say is there between those who are repeatedly selected and those who are fresher? It's just that we are very well versed with the basics. Like if you ask anything from the NCRT, if you ask anything from the Lakshmikant, if you ask anything from the Spectrum, it has to be on your tips. What freshers tend to do is that they either rush through these books or they tend to ignore these books. I have been telling people every now and then that it's very easy if you just focus on certain number of books and just keep them. This exam is still a very traditional exam. No matter how random the questions are coming, how tough the CSAT is coming, this is still a very traditional exam for all the stages, prelims, mains. So I would, yeah.
When you say traditional, I mean, can you explain a little bit more? How is it questions are not coming from the are the questions are still conventional?
Yeah.
And how are they asking?
See, if any question is very dynamic or very contemporary, you would say the basics always come from the standard sources.
Yeah.
So suppose if any question from Parliament is coming, suppose if the question is from the leader of opposition, the basic has to be from the standard books. So if you are not strong with your basics, you wouldn't be able to relate the advanced concepts related to that particular topic. So I'm every now and then I'm saying that you should be very well with the basics. Second thing is, sir, like everyone reads the same textbook, but we often don't test ourselves. What I used to do, there are many institutions website which provide the daily static questions.
Exactly.
Like daily 5 to 10 questions are coming, like polity for 4 days, economics for 4 days. So I used to solve these questions on the daily basis. So what it does, it keeps on checking your concepts.
Exactly. Yeah.
It gives you a direction, like which section of the syllabus you have to revise more, or which section of the syllabus you're not able to recall. So along with reading the basic textbooks, you have to solve the daily quizzes of these institutions. And plus for the current affairs, I have always relied on an active source for current affairs. For example, I have not read any magazine or the compilation in the end. I have always read the newspaper.
Right.
I made my own notes from the newspaper. I had around 4 thick registers.
Okay.
Made notes out of the daily news out of the newspaper. So there are multiple benefits out of it. Like it generates a thinking ability. For example, is there any topic it's coming on everyday basis? It generates a thinking ability which is much more useful in your mains. Like if I would say for UPPCS, I have not solved any mains test series.
Achha.
I straight away went to the exam and wrote the exam.
Achha.
So this is because I was continuously reading and making notes out of newspaper for past 2 years before writing that mains.
Okay.
So this is the huge benefit that you will get if you are reading from the active source. Active source means newspaper, PRS, bill summaries, government magazines,
Websites and
all these. Yes, websites now. So see, since it's the government exam, the questions have to be from these sources.
Exactly.
Okay, so you cannot neglect the basic textbooks. You cannot neglect the active source of current affairs, for example, newspaper and PRS website. So these are the, I would say, the strategy that the person who is selected, I have found this common, that they have focused on certain set of books and actively read the newspapers.
Which means if I had to ask you, if somebody has, because you have a good background in your graduation, if somebody is not well versed with the graduation, somebody is very not fond of the English language, although समझ में आता है थोड़ा बहुत, लेकिन उनको newspaper is like challenge कि 1 घंटे बजाय 2 घंटे पढ़ रहे हैं लेकिन फिर भी नहीं समझ में आ रहा है. So again, there are very different schools of thoughts कि करना चाहिए कि नहीं करना चाहिए. Few people say कि भाई मैंने बिल्कुल नहीं पढ़ा.
The people have cleared that way also.
Exactly.
Yes.
So for those, what would you like to say? Like, I think that is your self pattern based oriented, what
Hmm.
getting absorbed or soaked in your mind. What would you like to say? I mean, किसी किसी को नहीं समझ में आ रहा तो नहीं करना चाहिए या फिर मैंडेटरी है?
Sir, I would say कि at least starting में you should try.
Hmm.
Okay, and you can take help from different newspaper compilations which are coming every day.
Right.
So it will guide you like which section of newspaper is important, which section of newspaper is not important. Like many institutions are releasing daily newspaper compilations. So you can watch them and then you can read the newspaper. It will provide you a background. And why reading newspaper is important, especially for those who are feeling challenge in language, because if you have opted for English as a main language, so your presentation, your content delivery, your speed, your thinking ability, all things will be very important for completion of your paper in mains.
Exactly.
So you have to improve your English for paper completion in mains, and that can only be done by reading a lot. And that can be done by reading a lot of new articles, innovative thoughts that are given in the newspapers.
Right.
So I think, sir, it's a building process that you have to go through,
Right.
especially for those who are facing challenge in language. Those who are not facing challenge, you can opt for the compilation of person, whichever suits you. But I think for those who are facing challenge, you have to read the standard newspaper.
Right. Yeah, thank you so much for the clarity. I'll move to the second half, which is related to the real part of this preparation, mains part.
Hmm.
So the mains is heavy and it's
Yes.
fully loaded with 9 papers. So what's your optional, Shivam?
So my option is anthropology.
Anthro. All right. So let's talk about the GS first, and then we will move to Anthro. A lot of candidates
Yes.
here, they've got Anthro in their option. So yeah, first, so when we refer to our GS papers,
Hmm.
um, how important is doing the SWOT analysis and the like subject-wise weightage analysis of PYQs? कि क्या important है, कौन से subject से ज़्यादा आ रहा है?
Hmm.
कहीं मैं पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस इतना ज़्यादा तो नहीं पढ़ लिया कि मेरा इकोनॉमी हैम्पर हो रहा है,
Yeah.
राइट? तो वो आपने किया था शुरू में जब आपने कहा आपकी मेंस के मार्क्स पहले वाले में कम आए थे, तो वो चैलेंज क्या थे आपके?
Sir, uh, I scored very less marks in previous UPSC attempts for mains.
जी.
And the main reason was I didn't go through the previous year questions, like you rightly mentioned. So
Okay.
what happens? We tend to read one section more and we tend to ignore rest of the sections that often cost us marks in the mains. So we should always go through the previous year questions for understanding what is the weightage of a particular section. For example, disaster. There are three to four questions that are coming from disaster here, directly or indirectly they're coming. And if you talk about the world history, there are hardly one question that's coming. So you cannot spend more time on world history and less time on disaster management.
Right.
So this understanding is only possible if you have a proper weightage analysis of the previous year questions. And now, since these sources are very much easily available, it is not required that you yourself do this analysis. Many compilations are there providing you the weightage analysis of different section of mains. But saying that, I won't say that you should ignore a particular section of syllabus also.
Exactly.
Because even single mark in mains matters. Suppose if you are not read world history and question is simply from the American Revolution, so you will say that this is directly given in the syllabus and I have not read it. So you should touch upon each and every section of the syllabus, but giving more importance to those which have the high weightage in the mains paper, which comes from previous year question analysis.
ठीक है, ठीक.
Yes.
I want your help in formatting the approach of one subject. Let's say, for example, if a student is preparing from today, and of course we will start mains oriented, then we will go prelims oriented, right? So let's say if I'm a student, have a fair idea about UPSC, I have picked up, for example, polity and economy for UPSC, then what should be our approach if we wanted to go for कब हमें नोट मेकिंग स्टार्ट करनी चाहिए, कब PYQ करना चाहिए, कब आंसर राइटिंग करनी चाहिए और कब टेस्ट लगाना चाहिए, मतलब वो एक स्ट्रक्चर वुड यू प्लीज सजेस्ट?
So this keeping mains in mind, right?
या आई मीन कि मेंस ओरिएंटेड चल रहा है बिल्कुल.
So sir, first thing is you should be very well versed with the syllabus part, which is there
Right.
for you.
Yeah.
Okay, for suppose if we talk about GS1, in GS1, the first is the art and culture which is given.
ठीक है.
Okay. So for art and culture, the basic textbook for prelims, what we all read is the Fine Arts NCRT, whether IGNOU materials, Nitin Zangania, and a lot of mock test content. So this is the basic that we do.
Right.
Now for mains, as you transition your preparation towards mains, you should directly go through the previous year questions of art and culture.
Right.
And this is true for all the section of mains, which has the correlation with the prelims.
Okay, हाँ.
Yeah. So by jumping on the previous year question, you will understand that questions related to architecture are more frequently asked. Question related to paintings is more frequently asked. Question related to puppetry is not asked. Okay, so you get this weightage analysis of which section of the art and culture is more frequently asked.
Okay.
Now you go back to your original source and make notes of these high weightage portions
Okay.
with related to mains.
Okay.
Like suppose if the architecture of the Delhi Sultanate has been asked quite some time, so you prepared the short note of Delhi Sultanate architecture in one page.
Okay.
And one thing which is more important for art and culture is the diagram portion.
Exactly.
Like drawing the temples diagram, drawing the domes and all these things are very important. So once you are confident that which section has been asked more frequently, I have prepared decent material. Now you attempt those previous year questions only.
Okay.
Okay. So once you will attend your previous year questions, your thoughts will start to flow. Whatever you have, it's very important because we often read more and not able to put it on paper. So this transition is also very important. So
Right.
once you are able to write the answers for those questions, you should get it checked from a particular mentor also. Because it's a half work done if you are just writing and keeping your papers. You should get it checked because apart from the content, the non-content part, which is the presentation, the structure of the questions, the addressing the demand of the each and every section of the paper, it's also very important, and that can be done by support of a mentor or an institution.
Okay.
So, sir, I would say this is the transition which a person has to have from prelims towards mains towards answer writing for art and culture per se, which can be extrapolated for other subjects.
All right. So which means you said first identifying the weightage analysis, subject weightage analysis. Let's say you took an art and culture example. Let's say we put art crafts and architecture of various timeline they have asking.
Yes.
बाद फिर हमें notes बनाए हम उस पे and then उसके बाद हम PY
Previous year questions ही करो.
solve करें.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So when we make notes, shall we make one pager notes or a compilation like जो हमने pre में भी पढ़ा है, mains में पढ़ा है, या फिर दोनों को अलग रखें?
No. See, for mains you have to write hardly like 200 and 250 words. So you should prepare the keywords. So this time what changes that I made, I focused heavily on keywords. For every section of main syllabus, you have to prepare keywords. And while preparing notes, you should keep this in mind that you have to pick up the keywords in every, like for example, if there are architecture, then specific keywords relating which dynasty has which specific type of architecture. These are the keywords.
Right.
So while making notes, you can only write the keywords because background story everyone knows.
Right.
You just need to write those keywords in the proper sentence framing in the answer. That's it.
Right. So Shivam, one of the things which I think because you've been preparing from quite a while for this examination, I'm sure आपने भी toppers की copies देखी होंगी since 2019 to अब तक. You must have seen कि बहुत सारे evolution हुए आंसर राइटिंग में भी.
Yes.
काफी क्योंकि कंपटीशन आप ही लोग बढ़ाते हैं क्योंकि अच्छा आंसर लिखते हैं आप लोग.
Yes.
You know कि every candidate has a different affinity of writing a good answer. So and now अभी substantiation, examples. तो एक अच्छे आंसर में अगर किसी कैंडिडेट को कंटेंट याद है, लेट्स से स्टैटिक याद है, लेकिन वो जो एनरिचमेंट है आंसर की, आर्ग्यूमेंट को जो हम सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, उसका डेटा या फिर उसका कंटेंट कैसे हम लेकर आए, एंड व्हाट इज द सोर्स और हाउ टू अप्लाई इट.
Sir, for mains, like whenever you will prepare for mains, along with the static, you will also refer to the current affairs, any source.
Right.
Okay. So this time I refer to this one institution's enrichment program is there.
Okay.
So that material only I refer to, and I will try to explain your question through an example.
Okay.
The question came in mains.
Okay.
So the question was from the section of disaster management. It was about the cloud, this urban flooding.
जी हाँ.
Okay. So because it happened in Delhi also and it happened in Bangalore also. So the question was asked. So the disaster definition of urban flooding or flooding per se is the static part, which you will prepare from the disaster source, which is the NCRT. Okay. Now, for substantiating your question, you have to mention the examples. For example, this Delhi flood or the Bangalore flood and all. And you have to then mention the NDMA guidelines
Exactly.
for the urban flooding for management and all. And you have to also mention one case study.
Mm.
Like this time, I mentioned a case study of a Bangalore Nagar Palika. So this substantiates your answer from the normal person's answer, which will who will generally write about urban flooding and give one or two examples, and this will conclude their answer. So this differentiation comes from reading a particular source. For me, it came from the enrichment program material. For you, it can come from any material. So I think along with the static, when you have your mains, for example, 2025 mains, you will definitely go through a particular coaching institution's current affair material. From there, you can use a lot of examples in a particular static while answering a question. So this will eventually substantiate your answer. And this will not come on a single day. This
Exactly.
will come over a period of time, like solving lot number of questions. Like I've solved around 400 plus questions this time. I sat around in 3 to 4 offline simulators by going to that center and writing questions. So this comes after a lot of practice. All
Right.
these current affairs examples gets imbibed in your brain after a lot of practice.
Right.
So this is how it should be done.
Right. So Shivam, yesterday I was taking a session with these aspirants, and I was making them to helping them to write introduction. What
Yeah,
different type
actually.
of introductions they can write. So I think that's the major challenge एक बिगनर के लिए शुरू में होता है कि इंट्रो कंक्लूजन में फंसे रहते हैं.
Yes.
Right? So now, can you suggest that there are some topics, for example, let's say globalization, let's say urbanization, women, governance. So, have you made some model intro and conclusion, like a set format कि अगर इस पे आता है तो मेरे पास रेडी है टेम्पलेट मैं वहां लिख दूंगा.
सर क्वेश्चन वैसे पहले डायरेक्ट आते थे, अब तो क्वेश्चंस डायरेक्ट नहीं आते, मोर अप्लाइड आते हैं. तो आई हैड दिस वन स्ट्रेटजी ऑफ राइटिंग इंट्रोडक्शन दैट whatever there is a demand in the question,
ठीक है.
I must address the demand in my introduction itself.
Right.
Because the examiner, while reading the introduction, examiner must come to know that I know the answer of this question.
बिल्कुल हाँ.
Suppose if the question is related to how westernization has impacted the women in the society,
Right.
and if you are writing definition of westernization, it won't fetch marks.
Well, definitely, yeah.
Okay. So this has been the general trend in the past. Like people just straight away jump to the definition, straight away write the fact. So now it's not helping. You have to be very much dynamic in your introduction itself. Okay. So you have to address the demand in the introduction and then give the progressive suggestions in the conclusion, the way forward.
Right.
And in the introduction, sir, I try to adopt more and more keywords from the source that I mentioned so that it could look more attractive and more readable.
Okay. Okay.
So, sir, addressing the demand in the introduction is the
Okay. So
way
when
for
we
the
talk about our essay and ethics, so I think what we say कि if your GS 1 to 3 is ready, then your ethics and essay will also get ready. So how far do you agree with this?
Sir, I would say you have to definitely put a lot of efforts for essay now because the randomness in the marks is going huge.
Exactly.
And for ethics, sir, there is a set strategy that like you have to prepare notes for each and every topic which is given. For example, aptitude, human ethics, interface, and all. You can refer to any coaching material for that because they are straight away given the topics and all. And sir, what difference was there in my ethics paper this time was I gave my own examples from the field.
अच्छा.
So
Okay.
yeah, from the field, I gave my own examples. I gave examples which are very close to me, like my DIG or my IG who has done a good work. I wrote those examples. So the conclusion is that you should not go with the traditional set of examples which are given in the every notes. You can give any example. You can give your own school example, school college example, because I think the naiveness which is there in the ethics paper and originality which is there in ethics paper, that often gets rewarded.
Mm. Mm.
And this is for the section 1 of
Right.
the ethics paper, which is
Very
regarding the definition and all.
Yeah.
And sir, for case studies, the difference that I made this time was I wrote 1 or 2 line of introduction for each case study this time. and also conclusion of 1 or 2 lines for each case study.
Okay.
Because if you straight away write the stakeholder,
Uh,
you're not making it a flow.
uh,
If you write an introduction of 2 lines that this case study pertains to the ethical dilemma related to this ethical value, and straight away then write the stakeholders, then write the which are the ethical issues and all. So this prepares a proper pattern like introduction, then stakeholder and all. So this becomes very good when you read your own answers.
Right.
So this thing which I made change this time. So this is for the ethics. And so for essay, now the traditional pattern of using the PSTL is often not working. So what I focused last year, I scored good marks in essay, like 117. And my strategy was I always used to open the dimensions which are very personal. For example, I wrote the essay on not all who wandered or lost last year.
Okay.
So my dimension was related to my own self, individuality. Like we often wander in ourselves. We should always wander in ourselves to find out what are our real callings are, because we are often governed by the social values.
So what
So this,
framework have you used in that essay?
sir, I started with the any story.
Anecdote?
Because any anecdote, because I'm very poor at memorizing the quotes and all. So I focus more on writing the stories and then connecting it by the conclusion of the essay also. And then I start open the dimension from individuality, society, personal relationship, then going from a family to a society to national to international, opening dimensions in these flavors. So I used to keep my dimensions very personal. So by reading the essay, you feel that you are reading not a mechanical essay but an organic essay.
Right.
So this was my short strategy for essay, which I think it worked last year. And but for essay, I would say you should always take a proper mentorship, because marks in essay is very important.
Exactly.
And if you are not feeling confident in essay, you should not ignore that paper, because many students are scoring in 60s and 70s also.
Uh, I
So
believe both. I think both paper, essay and ethics, they have
yeah,
both a tendency to score beyond 130 plus.
yes. I have seen a mark sheet in which a person has scored 37 in essay and still got 825 in mains.
क्या बात कर रहे हो?
Yeah. So see the difference that even 90 or 100 marks in essay would have created.
Oh,
So we often ignore essay. Even English medium students ignore essay. They think that they will write in the exam. But that's not how it should be. You should have a proper strategy for essay, because it's also a 250 market paper like any other GSP.
exactly.
So for that, you can refer to any mentor or coaching company.
Right. One thing before I hand over the platform to students, where they will ask you questions related to a personal doubt, wanted to ask, uncertainty is there in this examination.
Yes.
Like you also prepared for PCS exam.
Share your doubts to more than once, please. जिनके भी doubts नहीं है, they can leave the class.
Yeah. So you guys, you can raise your hand, and we will ask you to unmute. Meanwhile, there's one more last question from my end to Shivam. Is the exam has uncertainty, so would you recommend students to prepare solely for this exam, or look out for any other simultaneous exams like PCS and then?
Sir, I would always suggest an aspirant to go for the state pieces also. So this is how I did, because getting into service in the initial years of 23 and 24 gives you a very much high confidence, and it helps you in interview if you have a proper backup. So I would always suggest an aspirant to sit in both the UPSC and respective state PSC.
Right. So, yeah, thank you so much for answering all the questions. A quick one, guys, the platform is now open. Please raise your hand if you want to ask anything to Shivam, and related to your journey, pre-mains or wherever you are stuck. Okay, so we've got Divya. Divya, can you please unmute yourself?
Hello.
Divya, you can ask.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, you are not audible, Divya. Your mic was on mute.
Sorry.
Yes, please ask.
Yeah. Sir, as you told about the basic book list about NCRT, we should go about basic NCRT. Then you have told about the art and culture. Then about the Igloo book and Nitin Singh Hania. So after reading these three books, we should make the analysis of the PYQ. Then we have to make notes, or after first going to the NCRT, then we can make the notes. Like how should we go for making notes?
Okay, so there are notes for two different stages of this exam, for
Yes, sir.
prelims and for mains. What I told you is for mains,
Okay.
depending upon the weightage of the previous year questions for particular section. For prelims, it is up to you. Like I never made notes out of NCRT. I used to keep revising from NCRT itself, scribble everything in the NCRT, doing value addition in the NCRT itself. So if you are good with reading the books again and again, then it's up to you. If you are not good with it, you can prepare your own notes from the NCRT. It is totally up to you. What I told you from seeing the weightage is for the main section of the exam.
All right, all right. Thank you so much, Shivam. So we've got another candidate, Prajwal. Please unmute करिए और पूछिए अपने सवाल.
So please tell us about how can we memorize things for longer time?
It's a very interesting question. See, I have devised a strategy for this thing, and it's a hard work, not a short strategy. See, sir, I have this tendency of reading a particular topic from the NCRT, then writing it in the rough copy. I always used to keep a rough copy and pen next to me. So whenever you read, for example, if you read temperature inversion in geography, so I still remember while sitting in library, I used to read these topics and then scribble everything in rough copy. Whatever you read, just scribble everything in a rough copy. So after multiple set of revisions and multiple set of scribbling, this will eventually get in your subconscious. So this is how you remember a topic for a very long period of time. And I think this is the proven strategy. It has helped me in college. It has helped me in UPPCS. It has helped me in UPSC also.
Great. I think, yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Okay, so we've got Pavani. Pavani, can you please unmute yourself? You can ask your question.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Mhm.
My question is related to sir's last question. As this exam consists of a level of uncertainty, right? So you have suggested us to write for state PCS. So what if not PCS? Sir, we can go with the other competitive exams as well, like SSC or something like that. Or do you only suggest to go to PCS?
See, be it SSC, be it UPSC, every exam has its own standard, its own requirements, its own prerequisites. For example, if we talk about SSC, it requires a faster calculation techniques and maths and all. So I think you cannot jumble all these exams together. You should understand that if you are preparing for UPSC, you can give exams which have a very well aligned pattern with the UPSC. And only state pieces have the aligned pattern, particularly if I talk about Uttar Pradesh with respect to this. So I would suggest that you should give exams only those which have a syllabus overlapping with your UPSC preparation. And if you want to give SSC, you should completely move to SSC, get a job, then prepare again for UPSC. But not just sitting in all the boards, because it won't help you. So the idea is that going for an exam which have a similar pattern.
Right, right. Well, thank you so much. Rishikesh, unmute, bataiye.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Hi, I have two questions. Like the first one is that what was your strategy regarding the optional that you took? And the second question is, do you have any suggestions or inputs for working professionals? Like how do we manage our time and our work simultaneously?
Okay, so for the first question, since I was also working and I was not having the ample amount of time for preparing anthropology completely from raw sources. So what I refer to, there is a channel on UPSC on YouTube, Anthropology for UPSC, and that channel have a detailed notes of paper 1, paper 2. So someone suggested me, I straight away jumped to those notes, and I eventually found those notes very good. And they have the detailed notes for each and every topic. They have videos for all the topics, then they have detailed notes for all the topics. And in anthropology, the difference that created this time was I added a lot of case studies and a lot of examples. So these case studies and examples and diagrams are given in those notes, which I mentioned. So this was the only source for me for anthropology in both the attempts. Like I scored 256 last time, which was below average because I was not able to do value addition. And this time I did lot of value addition from the same source. I got close to 300, that is 297. So this is the answer for the first question. And second one, for working professional, I think you should take leave for mains because I never used to take leave for prelims because I feel that if you have crossed the threshold once, you can sit in the prelims after doing a little bit of practice. For mains, I used to take 40-45 days of EL that I used to accumulate for over a year. And I used to do all answer writing, reading, everything in those leaves. So I think for working professional, for mains, you should take leave. For prelims, you can read from the compilations, solve the question papers while on the go to your service. And you have to find your strategy for working professional depending upon the time that you have at the end of a day.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Shivam. We've got another candidate. Tarun, can you please unmute yourself?
Okay, भैया. First of all, congratulations, sir, for your achievement. My question is, what mistake an aspirant should not commit while doing this preparation? By your suggestion, please suggest some solutions for it.
What mistakes one should not commit?
Yes.
Okay. The first mistake is overlooking the basic books like NCERT and I have been repeating multiple times. Second thing is not solving mock test papers for prelims, for mains. So we often think that we will directly solve the questions in the exam, but that doesn't help. You have to do the dry run, you have to do the practice, you have to stimulate your brain according to the demand of the question paper. This is the second thing. Third thing is I have seen in Delhi like people used to jump from shops to shops for different materials. They should be avoided because in the age of internet, the materials are ample. So you should fix your sources once and you should stick to those sources but till the end of your preparation. So I think these are the basics which one should follow, which people often not follow, but I would recommend people to follow this.
Right. Great. Shailesh, can you please unmute yourself?
Hello, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
Audible.
Sir, my question is that I'm in working profession actually. So I'm facing so many difficulties in each and everything. So I could not able to maintain anything properly. So what are the things I need to manage? So could you suggest in your point of view?
So have you prepared previously for UPSC or you are fresher in UPSC
No,
also?
sir. Yes, sure, sir.
Okay, okay. So like you have to pull out some 3-4 hours every day from your working schedule because you have to prepare the basics well. And as a working professional, you can read things in the morning. Well, I won't be able to suggest on that because it depends upon your own working schedule. And you should limit the books because since you have less time and you should keep revising them, depend more on previous year questions and solving less random questions. And I would say, like, I won't be able to suggest you much because I have been preparing previously for UPSC. Then I came into service, so I was on a much advantageous position. But for you, I would say just bring 3-4 hours every day from your schedule and prepare the basics, and then go for this answer writing and all by taking leave properly for mains.
Yeah. Shivam, I request you to talk about the right mindset because these aspirants, I mean, before you, there were many toppers whom I have requested. They came for the toppers talk, and then we ask questions again, same question to each topper. कि ये कैसे करें, करंट अफेयर कैसे करें, या फिर कैसे मैं वर्किंग हूँ तो मैं कैसे टाइम निकालूं. सो मुझे लगता है कि अगर आप एक बार आप अपने माइंडसेट के बारे में आप बताओ, क्योंकि वो कहते हैं कि अगर करना है ना तो फिर मतलब करना है. यू डोंट गिव एक्सक्यूजेस लाइक.
Yeah, right.
तो wanted to understand the right mindset because I'm sure आपका भी एक mindset होगा क्योंकि since 2019 you have been preparing. And then आज इस level पे हैं that finally I believe you will get an IAS this time.
Yes.
Right. So मतलब what's the right mindset if somebody is like preparing for this examination, either from all the walks of life, or working, or married, or anybody?
Sir, the purpose has to be very clear. Like for me, I became deputy collector. I did a lot of good work, but eventually, by seeing my seniors, I used to see that I have to become IAS or IPS. So the purpose has to be very clear. First thing is because the purpose will drive you on your low days. This preparation will give you a lot of many low days. So there have been many days in which I was not able to read anything. But the next day, I sat again with my books just because I had a strong purpose. So the thing will drive you is the reason for which you are preparing. And second thing is that should have a proper strategy also. Your preparation should not be very haphazard. Like if you have a target, like till the November or December you will finish your optional, then from till January you will finish your ethics. So prepare a broad outline of your preparation for over a year, and by having a proper purpose, by having a strategy as your guiding light, I think you will be on track. Some days you will be off track, but that's okay. That happens with even the toppers also, and that's very normal in this preparation. So you should talk to your family members, your loved ones, to keep you calm and composed in those days. But I think these two things are very important.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
There's one last question. This candidate, Sid, can you please unmute yourself? You can ask your last question.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, you're
Yeah,
audible.
so yeah. So again, a working professional here. So I wanted to ask, like, since there is a like a huge number of huge amount of syllabus, and also there is a huge demand of revision also. So as a professional, we try to maintain both of these things. But what happens is that when we try to revise, the syllabus gets far lagged behind, and if we want to study a particular subject, the revision gets lost. So especially in polity, for me, I'm not able to revise or recollect the things that I have already studied like 2-3 times. So how to go through this revision process and also maintain the consistency in the syllabus coverage?
So for revision, you can do the active revision, which I used to do. For example, if you are reading a particular chapter from polity, solve the questions from polity, that chapter, whether taking from the previous year questions or daily static questions from different websites that are come. So by solving the questions, it will generate a thinking ability. Like, okay, this portion of syllabus I have read, but I was not able to recall. I will read it more curiously this time. So this will set an intuitive mindset in your brain, and that will help you recall those concepts in the next attempt which you solve the question. So the conclusion is that you should do your preparation continuously by solving the questions from the static source, static websites, and all these sources. And for coverage of syllabus, again, I would say you should prepare the book list first, and then stick to those book lists. And for mains, the each and every section of the syllabus that is given, you should have one source from it and prepare notes out of it. These two should be the bedrock of your preparation. You should not jump upon any compilation which is coming for any mains preparation or building preparation, since you don't have the time for going through. I would say reading more is well and okay, but for the working professional, time management is very important. So you should do what is the very basic of this exam, like covering the basic books and solving the static questions, and then again revising the same thing. This will do the retaining ability more deep for you for each and every subject, and also covering the topic which I mentioned in the syllabus from a single source. So if you limit your sources, if you limit your ambit of reading, it will generate a good flavor in your mind that okay, this much only you have to read. Because if you won't set the boundary, it will be very difficult for you because you don't have the time also. So I hope I'm making sense regarding the working professional strategy. And again, it's very unique to your own working schedule also.
Right, right.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All the best.
We have got one last candidate. She has been raising her hand a couple of
Yes,
times.
yes, please.
Shubhi, could you please unmute yourself and you can ask?
Good evening, Bhaiya. Good
evening.
evening, sir. Sir, my question is that I'm also preparing for the UPPCS too. So, like, what different I have to do other than the UPSC preparation? Like, some tips I want.
See what we used to do in UPPCS, the questions from the standard things that are polity, economy are coming from your books that I mentioned. But there are many factual questions that are also there in UPPCS. And for that, you can go through the books like Ghatna Chakra, for example, for economics or polity. So you can get those books from the market, Ghatna Chakra, and just read those books and also do the previous year questions of UPPCs because many questions are repeated in UPPCs prelims. So these two extra things you have to do for prelims vis-a-vis your UPSC preparation. You have to be very strong with your basics of UPSC also. You should not mark a question related to speaker in UPPCS prelims wrong because the other person would be marking correctly. And the cutoff in UPPCS is very high. Okay. So you have to mark the static section questions very good and you have to go through these books like Ghatna Chakra and the YouTube compilation right before the exam for the factual questions.
Thank you, sir.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Shivam. I think you have been answering constantly doubts. Once again, thank you so much. I've got two last questions, a very quick one. Number one, ki, um, based on your preparation, so were you expecting AIR between, below 100, below 50? क्योंकि ये पता चल जाता है कि एक बार निकाल लेते हैं थोड़ा बहुत आइडिया लग जाता है कि इतना आ सकता है. So were you expecting? Did you check your own result? कौन देखा था? What was the excitement?
I was not expecting, and I think no one expects to get a rank under 100. And I was only because once you write mains previously also, so you have this comparison chart with you.
Exactly.
Like I had this comparison that I did a lot better in mains as compared to previous year. I did better in anthro compared to previous year. I did better in interview compared to previous year. So something good will happen. So I had this in my mind that something better will happen this time, but not obviously getting a double digit rank. And regarding the results, it came on 22nd, I think, and around 2 p.m. So I was in my training and we had the fourth class, but we all bunked our class that lecture because we were not able to sit in the exam, sit in the class because of the anxiety. So I came back to my room and I was lying on my bed under a blanket and I was shivering because I was thinking that this is my last attempt. And if I won't succeed, I have to be here.
Achha, okay.
But I had high hopes attached to the result because I did very well this time. And when my result came, I saw it in the second page. I was not able to believe. And then I think I cross-checked with my admit card multiple number of times. Then I called my father, and he again asked me to recheck it multiple times before telling it to anyone. So this is all the drama that happened that day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Because this is something which is like everything you can expect, but this was
Yes.
unexpectable, this situation. Now, one last thing before you leave for the day, I would request you to kindly give a broad message to somebody because the results are awaited. और ये जो इंतजार के दिन होते हैं ये बहुत मुश्किल होते हैं. क्या करें क्या ना करें क्लैरिटी नहीं होती. A lot of people they think कि हम बाउंड्री लाइन पे हैं. So after I think 2-3 days के अंदर रिजल्ट आ जाएगा.
Yes. Yes.
One message I would request you to kindly give for those if they could not make it, and another for them if they wanted to plan for 2026.
So if people could not make it, you should just go back to the drawing board and just ask yourself whether you have the attempts more to give or not. Because suppose if someone has given 4-5 attempts, and if the person is thinking of shifting his or her trajectory now to preparing a backup and all, then they should decide accordingly. But if someone is in the first or second attempt or third attempt and have the plan of giving it again, then you should give yourself time first to settle in because it's very difficult to face the failures. Like I have faced failures. So and then go back to the drawing board and prepare your strength and the weak areas that happen in this prelims. And you should prepare parallelly for your mains first. Because suppose if you eventually clear your prelims next time, that should be your last attempt. You should have this mindset that if I'm going to clear the prelims once, I will be becoming IAS or IFS, whichever is your first preference. And so for this, those who are not clearing, you should prepare your mains and your optional first and do accordingly whichever has been your weak areas for prelims.
Right. Fair enough. Great. Well, thank you so much. I think it's been almost 1 hour और आपने बहुत साथ दिया है शिवम. Yeah, 1 घंटे हो चुके हैं इसके. So बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया शिवम and
Thank you.
wish you definitely make your parents and the country proud that you are going to join one of the best services of the country, and जो आप चाहते थे वो अब मिल गया आपको.
Yes.
And
There is a sense of relief now. Like, I was not that much excited or related after the result because it has come after long, and now I'm more focused on to do good works in a district, and so that the life of a common people could be make more simple.
right, fair enough. Well, thank you so much once again, and on behalf of our aspirants, gratitude and thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much.
All the best. Yeah, thanks. Bye. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.